In this video by ABN Painting, I go over paints and stains that we used for painting concrete pool decks and discuss advantages and disadvantages of each one. The first paint that I'd like to talk about, it's called Deck Over, and it is sold at Home Depot. We usually use this paint when a pool deck is not in a very good condition and has a lot of cracks to repair and a lot of concrete that is chipped off. One of the advantages of using this paint is that it's very thick, and because of its thickness it will cover imperfections on a deck really well. If you look at Home Depot website, Deck Over paint has a lot of bad reviews, and I'm not sure what the reason for that is. I've used it on countless number of concrete pool decks here in Arizona and have not had any issues with this paint at all. If you are a homeowner looking to repaint your pool deck and you are thinking of using Deck Over paint, keep in mind that this paint is much thicker than your average paint, and because of that it's not very easy to work with. The next paint that I would like to mention, it's called Cool Feel, is by Xcel brand, which is owned by Sherwin-Williams. It is an excellent quality paint. It is pretty thick, so it covers imperfections on the deck well, and it also works as advertised. It makes the concrete feel cooler. Before the year 2020, we were using this paint a lot. However, during the pandemic, when the shortages of materials started, this paint was one of the first to disappear, and it was not being manufactured for a couple of years. As of recording this video, November 2022, this paint is making a very slow comeback, but still not in the quantities that we're looking for. So at the moment it's a little bit hard to find. Hopefully next year, when the manufacturing of the paint catches up with the demand, we'll start using it again. Cool Feel paint, as well as Deck Over paint, have one major drawback. Those paints are both flat, and comparing to stains, they are harder to maintain. And that is one of the complaints that I've heard from my customers over the years, that both of these paints are not easy to maintain. And for that reason, when the pool deck is in a good condition and does not require a lot of repairs, I recommend using a concrete stain instead of using the paint. Stain usually has some sheen to it, and that is why it makes it a little bit easier to maintain. Top Coat is an excellent quality coating for the pool deck. It is manufactured by Xcel Surfaces. It's a company located here locally in Phoenix. A lot of pool contractors use this coating when they build a pool. This is what they're using for the pool deck. Over the 15-year period, I've used this coating maybe twice, and I don't use it more often for a couple of reasons. First, it is not sold in any major retailer. You can only buy it at a couple of places, smaller stores, and there is not a lot of colors to choose from. If I'm not mistaken, it comes in 16 standard colors, and you can also do a color match, but they can do matches only in a 5-gallon buckets. So if, for example, you have a pool deck that requires 3 gallons of this coating, you'd have to buy a 5-gallon bucket. And if it's a pool deck where you need to use 6 gallons, you'd have to buy 10 gallons for a custom color match. So a lot of color limitations and very few locations where you can buy it. That is the reason I don't use this coating more often. The next coating is Solid Color Concrete Stain by Behr. It's a very decent quality concrete stain. I used it on a number of pool decks and have not been disappointed with its quality yet. Next is Solid Color Concrete Stain that is called Color Top. It is by Xcel brand and it is sold at Sherwin-Williams store. It is an excellent quality concrete stain. It has a little bit of sheen to it, and because of its sheen, it's a little bit easier to maintain than the paint. And at the same time, it's not too shiny, so when the pool deck gets wet, you don't have to worry about it being slippery. The last coating in this video is called Heavy Shield. It is by Xcel brand and it is very similar to Color Top. The main difference between the two is that Heavy Shield comes in semi-gloss finish and it is very shiny. If you are using Heavy Shield on a pool deck, adding a slip-resistant additive is a must. Otherwise it's gonna be very slippery. The one that works the best with this coating is called Shark Grip. I don't use Heavy Shield a lot because of how shiny it is, but it may work well for some of the pool decks, especially if you're looking for something that's easy to maintain. To summarize this video, I would like to say that if you have a pool deck that is in a good condition and does not require a lot of repairs, I would recommend using the stain. Stains are easier to maintain due to its sheen, and they're also very easy to apply. The downside of using the stain is that if you have a pool deck with a lot of imperfections, the stains are very thin and they will not cover imperfections well. If you have a pool deck that is in a poor condition, I would recommend using paint. Paint will cover imperfections much better than the stain because it's thicker, but the downside of using the paint is that it will be harder to maintain than the stain. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching.